Hey guys, welcome to the 2016 Level 1 MCAT exam. This is day 2. So the best way to watch this video would be as I introduce the questions to you, pause the question, try the question by yourself, and then unpause the video just to see how I work the answers out. Now guys, just a bit of a heads up, for some of the questions there's more than one way to get to the answers, and so I'm not going to go through each of the methods, because sometimes you get like 6 or 7 methods. So anyway, let's get started with question 1, and I'll show you guys what you need for achieve merit and excellence as well in this video. Okay, so with question 1, what we have is a rectangle has an area of x squared plus 5x minus 3x. What are the lengths of the sides of the rectangle in terms of x? So basically, this question is asking us to factorize the area, because we know that for a rectangle, area is equal to base times height. So what we have is x squared plus 5x minus 36, and we want to write it in terms of x. So we have to write it as base times height. So we've got to actually factorize it. So in the end, what we're looking for is two numbers that multiply to negative 36 and add up to plus 5. And so we know that it's going to be plus 9 and minus 4. Now you can actually write a little statement to say that the two sides are x plus 9 and x minus 4. It doesn't matter which one you have as the first one, because when you're multiplying two numbers, it doesn't matter which number you write first. So just doing this will get you an achieved grade. Okay, so going to question number A2. So it says that the area of the rectangle is 114. What is the value of x? So what we have is we know that the area can be written as x squared plus 5x minus 36, and now this equals 114. So we're trying to figure out what x is. So what I would recommend doing is, when you're dealing with this, is you're dealing with a quadratic, so you need to equal the right hand side to 0, factorize and solve. So that's what you need to do. So I need to rearrange the 114 first. So I'm going to get x squared plus 5x minus 36, and because 114 comes to the left hand side, it becomes minus 114, and this is now equal to 0. So when we simplify this, we're going to get x squared plus 5x minus 150 equals 0. So factorizing this, I'm looking for two numbers that multiply to minus 150 and add to 5. Now I know that it's x plus 15 and x minus 10, because 15 minus 10 is 5. 15 times negative 10 is negative 150. So from here, I can say that either x plus 15 is equal to 0, or x minus 10 equals to 0. But in the first case, when I rearrange this, 0 minus 15 is going to be negative 15. And negative 10, when it comes to the other side, will become plus 10. 0 plus 10 is 10. Now, obviously, you've actually got two solutions here. So it's really important that you actually ignore that negative 15, because you can't really have negative 15 in this particular case, because remember that both of your sides, your two sides were, well, one of your sides was x plus 9 and your other one was x negative 4. So if you substitute negative 15 as x, then your first side will become negative 6 and your second side will become negative 19. Now you can't really have negative 19 as a unit of measure. So therefore, what we're going to say is we can't actually choose x equals negative 15, and we have to say x equals to 10. So what we do is, in the final answer, we just say x is equal to 10, and that's basically it. So let's see what you're going to get in terms of grade-wise. If you just write the answer with no working out, then you get an achieved grade. So if you just put x equals to 10 with no working, then you will get an achieved. Or if you got up to here, like let's see, equation to 0, So if you can get up to here, you will get an achieved as well. Factorize and solve giving 2 correct solutions gets you a merit. So getting up to here, where you're giving 2 solutions gives you a merit. For excellence, you need to give 1 positive solution only. So if you do all the correct working and you show that the final answer is a positive answer, then you get an excellence. All right, let's go to the next question, folks. All right, guys. So, excuse me. This is question 1B. Now, I'm not going to lie. I honestly hate these types of questions. But the way I figure it out is that, I usually play with some numbers first to see if it actually works. And then I kind of replace it with my equations, because at the end of the day, you still need equations to get the full grade possible. But anyway, let's have a look at what are some of the things that we can actually do. So in the first statement, it says Jake and Melee deliver newspapers. Jake has more newspapers to deliver than Melee. So I guess the first thing we can do is I'm going to define J as, let's just say, let me just use a different color. So what I'm going to say is J is equal to number of newspapers Jake delivers. All right, and then I'm going to have M, which is for Melee, is number of newspapers she delivers. Okay, so in my second line it says Jake has more newspapers to deliver than Melee. So what I can then say is J has to be greater than M. Okay, that's the first statement. Now the third line says if Jake gave Melee 23 newspapers, they would have the same number of newspapers. So think about it like this, all right? So let's say we've got Jake and then we've got Melee. Okay, if Jake gives 23 papers, that means whatever papers he originally had, we now have to subtract 23 from it. Okay, and now, but because he's actually given the papers to Melee, Melee is going to have whatever original papers she had, she's going to get an increase of 23. So at this point we can say that the third line basically states that if Jake actually loses 23 papers, Melee gains 23, then they have the same number of newspapers. So that's our first statement there. Now if you look at the next one, if instead Melee gave Jake 7 papers, Jake would then have twice as many as Melee. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put down J and M first. All right, J and M first. Now it says if Melee gave Jake 7 newspapers, so that means she is losing 7 newspapers while Jake is gaining 7 newspapers. Jake would then have twice as many as Melee, so which means now he's going to have twice as many as Melee's. All right, now that's pretty much how you come up with the equations, guys. Unfortunately, I have no other way of explaining it. It's just interpreting the language and actually writing what you think it is. And actually, when you work out the answers, it should work out. If it doesn't work out, I'd usually go back and fiddle around with my equations again. But anyway, we've got our 2 equations. And now we need to figure out how many newspapers does each person actually have. So I'm going to take my first equation, this one here, and I'm going to rewrite this as J equals to M plus 23. And because originally there was a minus 23, and if I bring it over to this side, it becomes plus 23 as well. So I can rewrite this statement as J equals M plus 46. Oh, sorry, let me just put another color. So once I have this equation rearranged, what I could then do is I could actually replace this J here with M plus 46. So instead of this J, I'm going to write this as M plus 46 plus 7 equals 2 times M minus 7. And now it's just a matter of expanding and rearranging, guys. So we're going to have M 46 plus 7, we've got 53 equals 2M minus 14. Rearranging this, so M comes to this side, it becomes minus M, and 14 comes to this side because then it becomes plus 14. So 2m minus m is m, 53 plus 14 is 67. So we've just figured out what Mele's papers are, which is 67, which means to figure out what Jake's is, we know that Jake is equal to m plus 46. And because we figured out Mele's is 67, we've got 67 plus 46. So Jake actually delivers 113 newspapers. So this was an excellent question, guys. To get an achieved, you need either at least one equation correct. To get a merit, you need to get either Jake correct or Mele correct with algebraic working. For excellence is the final answer, which is Jake is 113, Mele is 67 papers. So I would actually state that, guys, somewhere that Jake is actually 113 newspapers and Mele actually has 67 newspapers. All right, cool. Let's go to the next question. All right, question C says, show that this fraction is the same as this other looking fraction. One of the things that you'll see most people do is when they see a fraction like this, they cross multiply. At this particular question, I'm going to show you guys two ways, because the second method is much more useful for you guys if you're carrying on with algebra next year, or even for some of the questions this year. So I'm going to show you the first method, all right? And this is the one that most people use, but it can also lead to complicating things later on. So most people, what they end up doing is this cross multiplication, where they say this times this times this, and then the bottom multiplied by each other. So basically what that means is 3 times 4 is going to be 12, plus 2x times x plus 4 divided by 2x times 4. And when you expand the brackets inside the numerator, you're going to get 12 plus 2x squared plus 8x divided by 8x. And putting it in order, we're going to get 2x squared plus 8x plus 12 divided by 8x. And this is how you show that it's the same as whatever is here on the end of this question. Okay, now this is what most people know how to do it as. That's fine, gets you an achieved. All right, this question is only an achieved, but the way that I actually encourage students to do is by looking at the denominator and finding out the common denominator, lowest common denominator. Why? Because it actually helps you with dealing with fractions later on, so you don't get complicated numbers. So this is the other way of doing this. So the first thing I do is I have a look at the two numbers in the denominator. One number here is 2, the other one is 4. So if I want to convert this 2 to a 4, I need to multiply both the denominator by 2 and the numerator by 2. So what I end up getting is I've got 2 times 3. 2 times 3 is going to be 6. 6 over 2 times 2x is 4x. Plus, on this side I've got x plus 4 over 4. Now, in the denominator I have an x, so in this denominator I also need an x. So the way I'm going to do it is multiply the denominator by x and the numerator by x. So what I end up with is 6 over 4x plus x times x plus 4 divided by 4x. So if I see that both the denominators are the same, so I can put everything together in one big denominator, which is going to be this. Expand the brackets, so I'm going to get x squared plus 4x divided by 4x. And now rewriting this, I'm going to get x squared plus 4x plus 6 divided by 4x. Now you might actually wonder, but hang on, this answer is actually not the same as this answer. Well, theoretically it is, because if you look at it, it's just factorize. Because here you've got 2, you've got 8, you've got 12, you've got 8. All those numbers could be divided by 2. And when you divide it by 2, you're actually going to end up with this answer. So you can actually say it is the same as this, but just much more simplified. But yeah, I know this is a much longer way of doing things, But believe it or not, this actually helps out a lot more with you guys when you travel, when you go to level 2 and level 3 onwards. Okay, let's go to the next question, folks. All right, guys, so for this question, it says, for what value of x will 9 times 3 to the power of x equals 3, 5x plus 4? Can I just say, the first mistake people do is they do this. They see 9 times 3 to the power of x, and they write it as 27 to the power of x. If you did that, you are completely incorrect. So, how do we actually do this particular question? One thing is this, in this particular exam, guys, you're not allowed to use calculators. Because you're not allowed to use calculators, they only give you certain numbers in terms of like 2 squared, 3 squared, 4 squared, those numbers, they're quite consistent numbers. So in this case, you look at 9, straight away, you should be able to write 9 as 3 to the power of 2. So this is what my question looks like right now. But I know that 9 can be written as 3 to the power of 2. So I'm going to write that as 3 to the power of 2 multiplied by 3 to the power of x equals 3 to the power of 5x plus 4. Now, if you look at the left-hand side, remember that one of your algebra rules states this. If you have a to the power of m times a to the power of n, then this could be written as a to the power of m plus n. Okay? It's one of the first things you learn about index expressions. So with the 3, what I could do is I can rewrite this as 3, 2 plus x equals 3, 5x plus 4. Now from here, what I could do is I can see that, well, this base is 3, this base is 3, which means that whatever this number here is, I'm talking about this number here, must equal to this number. Because if you think about it, 3 to the power of this big blue circle should equal 3 to the power of this another big blue circle. What I'm trying to say is that when you have two things equal to each other, their powers must be equal as well. So from here, what I can straight away just ignore the 3's, and I can say that means 2 plus x should equal 5x plus 4. Now I have a linear equation, so I need to rearrange everything and actually solve for x. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to just switch everything first, guys. I'm going to write this as 5x plus 4 equals 2 plus x. Remember, if you're dealing with equal sign, you can actually put right hand side equals left hand side or left hand side equals right hand side. You can just switch things straight away without having to worry about the symbols. So now I start rearranging things. So I'm going to get 5x equals 2 plus x plus 4 when it goes to the other side becomes minus 4. So what I end up with is 5x is equal to x minus 2. 5x minus x, because when x comes to this side becomes minus, equals negative 2. I've got 4x equals negative 2. And then x is equal to negative 2 divided by 4. Now this actually simplifies to negative 1 over 2. Okay, so grades wise, equation established with base 3. I guess getting up to here, you're looking at an achieved. Getting up to here, you're looking at a merit. And solving it, you're looking excellence for this particular question. Okay guys, that's question 1 done. We now go to question 2. So with question 2, we've got parabola has the equation y equals 3x squared minus 5x plus 7. What is the value of y when x equals to 2? So all they're saying is x equals to 2. What is y? So we've got a substitution problem here. So y is 3x squared minus 5x plus 7. So substituting the 2, I'm going to get 2 squared minus 5 times 2 plus 7. So what we really have is 3 times 4 minus 10 plus 7, 12 minus 10 plus 7. We have got the final answer as 9. And this question here, guys, is an achieved question. And that's basically it. Let's go to the next one. Okay, so for this question, it's saying for what values of x is this quadratic less than this other quadratic? Excuse me. So the first thing I'll do is, like, if you're dealing with quadratics and it looks like this, is expand the brackets. Okay, so what we have is, let me just get rid of that. we've got x minus 3 times x plus 3 is less than x minus 4 times x plus 2. So we're going to expand this quadratic using FOIL. Well, not just FOIL, you can do whatever you want. If you know how to do that real quickly, you can do it quickly as well. So x and x squared, x times, so that's my x squared, x times 3x is, sorry, x times 3 is 3x, negative 3 times x is minus 3x, negative 3 times positive 3 is negative 9. And this is less than x times x is x squared, x times 2 is 2x, negative 4 times x is minus 4x, negative 4 and 2 is minus 8. So simplifying things, we've got x squared, 3x minus 3x is 0, minus 9 is less than x squared minus 2x minus 8. So at this point, what I would do is I'll try and rearrange things so that x is all on one side. Now, the good thing about this one is the x squareds actually cancel out each other because there's one on each side. So when I bring x squared to this side here, it becomes minus x squared. And I'm left over with minus 2x minus 8. So I've got negative 9 is less than negative 2x minus 8. Now when negative 8 goes to the other side, it becomes plus 8. So we've got negative 9 plus 8 is less than negative 2x. Negative 9 plus 8 is negative 1, which is less than negative 2x. And so the next step would be is I divide both sides by negative 2. And remember that with inequalities, when you divide by a negative sign, the inequality sign shifts. So this is going to look like this now. And you've got x is actually less than positive half because the two negatives actually cancel out. Now from here, from this step, you could have also done something like this. Negative 1 over 2 is less than negative x. And according to this schedule, you will get the full marks if you do that as well. So what are you going to get for achieved? For achieved, just one expansion correct, you get an achieved. Both expansion correct and simplified, you get to merit. Both expansion correct and simplified or solved as an equality. I'm sorry guys, I'm just looking at the answer schedule. And simplified. So I'm guessing you're probably looking at, in all honesty, I'm struggling to actually figure out what it actually says. Both expansions correct and simplified. I guess we're talking about here. And of course for excellence is either that or that. Yeah, like I said guys, this last year's paper was a bit of a strange one. So, you know, the marking schedule was literally all over the place. You were getting some really easy marks. And I guess this is one of those questions where you can actually really pick up some easy marks. All right, let's go to the next one. All right guys, so question 2c, it says if p is a whole number, for what values of p is 10 times 2 to the power of p minus 1 less than 165? So what we have is we're dealing with exponents again, and the first thing I would actually do is I would get rid of the 10. So I would rewrite this as 2 to the power of p minus 1 is less than 165. Because the 10 comes to the other side, it'll become divided by 10. And 165 divided by 10 is 16.5. So we've got 2 to the power of p minus 1 has to be less than 16.5. So how do we actually go about doing this particular question? Well, let's see. The first thing I would ask you guys to do is write down all the powers of 2's and what it equals. So 2 to the power of 1 is 2. 2 to the power of 2 equals to 4. 2 to the power of 3 equals 8. 2 to the power of 4 equals 16. 2 to the power of 5 equals 32. Now, if you want this 2 to the power of p minus 1 has to be less than 16.5. If you think about it, 2 to the power of 4, which is 16, that's less than 16.5. Yeah? So we can actually say, yep, that's correct. But if we say 2 to the power of 5 is less than 16.5, we know that this is incorrect because 2 to the power of 5 equals 32. and 32 is not less than 16.5. So, and the question also says that P has to be a whole number. So it can't be a decimal or a fraction or anything. It has to be a whole number. So we know that this P minus 1 has to equal 4 or less than 4, because, I mean, if you think about it, P could actually be any number, but the maximum number it can take is 4. So what we then say is P minus 1 is equal to 4, but it also could be less than 4 as well. Okay, because if you think about it, if P is like, say, for example, say P is equal to 3, for example, then we're going to get 2 to the power of 3 minus 1, which equals 2 squared, which equals 4. And 4 is less than 16.5. So that's the kind of thinking that I'm going behind this. So then the next part, we can actually say P has to be less than or equal to 4 plus 1. So your final answer is going to be P is less than or equal to 5. Okay, that's one way of saying this answer. Or you might say P has to be less than 6. Or you could also list all the whole numbers that P is. So you could actually say P is equal to 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Can't equal 6. And so those are some of the 3 things that you could have actually done. So in terms of grades, I think getting up to here gets you an achieved, inequality simplified, consistent solution from less than 5. So sometimes you might actually include 5. Sorry, not include 5 if you forget to put that inequality. So sometimes people do this, P less than 5. If you had done that, you get a merit. But if you've done either that or that, you get excellence, or that, you get excellence as well. All right, let's have a look at the next question, folks. So we have m equals to this and n equals to that other looking equation, and it says give an expression for m in terms of n. All right, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to write down m first, and I'm going to actually expand the brackets. So I write down the equation first, and I'm going to expand the brackets. So I get 5a squared, which is that. 5 times negative 3a is negative 15a. 5 times 4 is plus 20, and plus a squared. So m then equals 6a squared minus 15a plus 20. Next, I'm going to work out what n is. N is equal to 3a minus 5 multiplied by 2a minus 4 plus 7a. So I need to expand the brackets. So I've got 3a times 2a, which is 6a squared. 3a times negative 4 is negative 12a. Negative 5 times 2a is negative 10a. And negative 5 minus 4 is plus 20. And of course, I've got this plus 7a in the end. So then n is equal to 6a squared. Negative 12 minus 10 is negative 22. Plus 7 is negative 15a. And then I've got 20 as it is. Now, this is actually one of those really sad excellence questions, or actually happy excellence questions for most of you guys. Because if you look at this, m is equal to that, n equals to that. And both of them are equal to each other. So your final answer is m equals to n. And that's basically it. So for achieved, you need one of these expansions correct. For merit, you need both of these expansions correct. For excellence, you need this little statement. Yeah, that's how messed up this paper was last year. But anyway, it's good for some. Moving on, guys. Now, this question, and I know it caused a lot of grief for students last year and teachers, but I'm going to finally go through this and actually talk to you guys through what they were actually expecting us to do. So the first thing they say is, in this question, investigate what happens when Janine changes the order of the numbers in line 1. Does she get the same answer as in line 4? Now, 2468, I'm going to change it to maybe 2486. And guys, you could have done this in any different way, any different combination possible. All right, so if I do 2486, I get 2 plus 4 is 6, 8 plus 6 is 14, 14 plus 6, oh no, 8 plus 4 I've got. Let me just give this a bit more space. So I'm going to put this as, no, actually I'm going to do this in the triangle itself. So I'm going to do 2, 4, 8, and 6. So 2 plus 4 is going to give me 6. 4 plus 8 is going to give me 12. 6 plus 8 is going to give me 14. 14 plus 12 is 26. 12 plus 6 is 18. 26 plus 18 is 44. So that was one investigation. And basically I can actually say, after doing one investigation, no, she does not get the same answer. And that gets you an achieved. But here's the controversial thing about this particular question. I mean, this question was actually worth a merit. And for you to actually get a merit, you need to actually do another trial. You can't just do one of them and just stop with it. So I'm going to change these numbers up. This time I'm going to have 8, 4, 2, 6. So notice I'm just doing that in different colors. 8 and 4 is 12. 4 and 2 is 6. 2 and 6 is 8. 8 and 6 is 14. 6 and 12 is 18. 18 and 14 is 32. So because I've done it twice, and I can actually say two different terminal numbers, which is the final number, and they're different. So yeah, I mean, it's a bit unfair in terms of, you know, not actually understanding what the markers actually want, but that's what we were dealt with last year. So anytime you see an investigation question, guys, I would actually recommend to do at least 3 trials, okay, just to be on the safe side. Especially with this year 2017 paper coming up, if you see any investigations, try and do at least 3 trials and then justify your answer. All right, let's go to part 2. So part 2 says, find using algebra the relationship of the numbers in the first line to the numbers in the fourth line when she changes the order of the numbers in line 1. So, I mean, obviously, whenever you're talking, when they say use algebra and find relationship, you're not dealing with numbers anymore. You're dealing with letters. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to have it as A, B, C, and D. So my first line is going to be A plus B. My second line is going to be B plus C. And then my third one is going to be C plus D. Now combining this, I'm going to get A plus 2B plus C. Here I'm going to get B plus 2C plus D. And then combining right at the top, I'm going to get A plus 3B plus 3C plus D. If I rush through that, I'm sorry guys, but all I'm doing is I'm just combining like these 2 letters at the top there, and then combining for the next line, I'm actually combining this one and this one to get this one. All right, and I'm just keep repeating the process. So in terms of the answer, again with the schedule, it kind of says there's so many different ways, and you could have actually done this to get the full grade. But just setting up like this and actually showing the final answer, you will get an achieved. But one of the answers it says is that if the outside numbers are swapped or the middle numbers are swapped, the total does not change. Okay, because if you think about it, if the outside numbers swap, you're going to get, if you swap D and C like this, sorry, D and A, your final answer is going to be D plus 3B plus 3C plus A. So if you swap the outside numbers, it doesn't change. If you swap the inside letters, so if you write it as A, C, B, and D, then your final answer is still going to be A plus 3C plus 3B plus D. So it doesn't change. And I think that's pretty much what they're expecting in this, in terms of to get an excellence, is to say the statement that if outside numbers swap, outside numbers swap, or inside numbers swap with each other. You need to actually write that down, guys. Inside numbers swap with each other, then answer remains the same. Okay. Yeah. I don't know how else to actually explain this question. It's not something that's done through videos. I mean, these types of questions are done in class, where you actually have more time to actually explore the numbers rather than do it in a stressful situation like where it's a 1-hour exam. But yeah, that's what we're dealing with. Okay, anyway, let's go to the next question. Okay, so what we have is Janine writing 4 consecutive numbers, which means our first number is going to be x, our second number is going to be x plus 1, third number is x plus 2, fourth number is x plus 3. And we're basically repeating this triangle. So we've got x plus 1, which will become 2x plus 1. X plus 1, x plus 2 will become 2x plus 3. These two here will become 2x plus 5. And if I was to carry on, I'm going to get 4x plus 4, 4x plus 8. Finally, at the top, I'm going to get 8x plus 12. So setting up this particular triangle and going all the way to the top is going to get you a achieved. Now this one actually says, what do you know about the numbers if the number at the top of the triangle is divisible by 3? So the top of the triangle, the number is actually 8x plus 12, right? Now we know that 12 can be divided by 3. Okay, that's not a problem. Which means if the top number is divisible by 3, so that means 8x has to be also divided by 3. Has to be divided by 3. Now we know that 8 can't be divided by 3, but x has to be divided by 3 for the whole number to be divided by 3. So then what you can then say is basically saying if the total number of the top of the triangle, so that's the total, if the total is divisible by 3, that means 12 can be divided by 3, and then 8x can also be divided by 3. That means x has to be divided by 3 as well. I'm really sorry if that didn't make sense, but as I said, guys, this types of question, it's a lot more easier to explain in class than over a video. It's just you have to play with these numbers to actually get the idea of what's happening with this particular question. But that's what they're looking for in terms of getting an excellence. And also, if you do some sort of partial explanation, you get a merit for it. Okay, let's go to question 3 then. All right, guys, so with question 3a, we actually have got a quadratic, and we need to actually factorize this quadratic. So we're going to get, we've got n squared minus 4n minus 5. And if we factorize it, we're going to get n plus 1 and n minus 5. Because what two numbers multiply to -5 and add to -4? That's going to be -5 and 1. So the other side is going to be, the second side is going to be n minus 5, which gets you an achieved. Now we've got to try and figure out what do you know about the value of n for this triangle. Now just looking at it, all right, let's just have a look at this side here. We've got n plus 1 and n minus 5. The first thing is you can't have length, the length can't be negative. All right, that's the first thing. Length can't be negative and has to be positive. The area can't equal 0. So the reason I say that is because if you put n equals to 5, then the area becomes 0. But if you put n as any number less than 5, then you're going to have a negative length. So n has to be greater than 5. And if you just write n as greater than 5, you get achieved. But if you write it with those two other reasons, you get a merit. All right, let's go to the next question. So question 3b says we've got area that's actually given by this particular formula, and we need to write a formula that's where we can actually find the radius. So this is a classic rearrangement question. So we got a equals 3/4 pi r squared. Now guys, there's multiple ways of doing this particular question. I'm just going to do the one that I'm familiar with. You might actually learn how to do this completely different way, and that's fine, as long as you get the right formula at the end. So first step is getting rid of the 4, bringing it to the other side to multiply. So I have 4a equals 3 pi r squared. Then I want to have r by itself, so I'm going to divide both sides by 3 pi. And so what I'm left with is 4a divided by 3 pi equals r squared. And then r equals square root of 4a divided by 3 pi. You don't really need the plus or minus for this particular question. Well, contextually, radius can't be negative. And this was one of those lucky questions last year where this was given an excellence. And if you're just progressing in this question, you get an achieved, or one little error could actually get you a merit. Okay, let's go to question 3c. So 3c, we've got solve x squared minus 3x minus 10 equals 0. So basically factorize and solve. What two numbers multiply to negative 10? Well, and add to minus 3. We've got x minus 5 and x plus 2, which means x minus 5 equals to 0, or x plus 2 equals to 0. In this case, x equals to 5, and in the other case, x equals to negative 2. This question here gets you an achieved. No, actually, I'm wrong. Sorry. This gets you a merit. Factorizing it gets you an achieved. Another lucky question in last year's series. Okay, let's go to question D. So with question D, guys, what I'm going to do is, if I look at the quadratic at the top, it was the same as question C. So I'm going to write that down straight away as x minus 5 and x plus 2 divided by x plus 5 times x minus 5 equals x over 2. Now, for some reason, if you decide to cross multiply now, it can get really ugly where you're going to end up with a cubic and you will not be able to solve it at level 1. But what you can do though is, if you have a look at your left hand side, you've got an x minus 5 in the numerator, x minus 5 in the denominator, and you can cancel them out both. And what you're left over with is x plus 2 divided by x plus 5 equals x over 2. Now you can do cross multiplication because you've got one fraction equals another fraction. So you can get 2 multiplied by x plus 2 equals x multiplied by x plus 5. So expanding the brackets here, I'm going to get 2x plus 4 equals x times x is x squared, x times 5 is 5x. And now I need to rearrange this. So 0 is on one side. I've got x squared plus 5x minus 2x minus 4. This can be simplified to x squared plus 3x minus 4. Now, solving it with, I've got to factorize it first into two brackets. What two numbers multiply to negative 4 and add to 3? That's going to be plus 4 and minus 1. So now I've got x plus 4 equals 0, or x minus 1 equals 0. So therefore I can say x equals negative 4 and x equals positive 1. So grades wise, correct solution calculated gets you an excellence. If you actually get to consistent solution from t and simplified and equals to 0, get up to here, you get a merit. And at the top here, if you expand by mistake, you could potentially get an achieved for that. And that's question D. All right, let's go to question 3E. So 3E, we've got this game that has a groove that has a small ball is rolling along. Maximum width of groove is given there. Okay, basically it's kind of, see that little light blue ball here? It's going along the groove, and I guess what you're trying to look at it is something like this, where the light blue ball is going there, and that's the groove. The groove can be modeled as this x squared minus 4x. What does y measure? So all you really have to say for this particular path is depth of the groove. That's all. That gets you a lovely little achievement. And then let's go to the next question. All right, guys, so this particular question, it says, what percentage of the maximum horizontal width of the groove is the width of the groove when it's at a vertical depth of 3 centimeters? So the groove itself looks like this, right? Now we know the equation of the groove is x squared minus 4x. We also know that it's 4 centimeters from here to here. The question that's been asked is, when the depth is 3 centimeters, so when the depth is 3 centimeters, what is this distance here? And then that as a percentage of 4. So basically what we're trying to do is we're trying to work at it in terms of graphs. So let's try and actually work out what those 2 points. Now imagine this. Okay, imagine if I actually do it like this. If I draw a graph like that where this is y and this is x. We know that point is 0, that point is 4. We got to actually work out what this point is and what this point is, the x values for it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to write down x squared minus 4x equals, now because it's actually 3 below, it has to equal minus 3. So rearranging this, I'm going to get x squared minus 4x plus 3 equals to 0. Factorizing this, because I've got a quadratic, two numbers that multiply to 3 and add to -4, that's going to be -1 and -3. Therefore, I can say that x equals to 1. Let me just do that a bit long for you guys. So we can just say x minus 1 equals 0, or x minus 3 equals to 0. Therefore, x equals to 1 and x equals to 3. Now the 1 and 3 is actually right here. So there's the 1 and then there's the 3. That's the 2 points. So we can basically say distance between when x equals to 1 and x equals to 3, the distance is equal to 2. And because maximum width is 4, 2 over 4 gives us the percentage. So 2 over 4 is equal to 50%. So we can actually say at 3 centimeters deep, width of groove is 50%. Width of groove is 50% of max width. And you can also give it as a fraction as well, guys, so that's fine as well. So in terms of grades, getting up to here gets you an excellence, solves the equation gets you a merit, and getting up to this gets you an achieved. Right, that is basically it for this particular question, guys. So I just want to say thank you for watching this video. Hope it actually helped you guys. I'm sorry if I caused any confusion with some of the questions, but last year's paper was quite tricky. I mean, it has to be one of the trickiest ones that I've worked with. In terms of this year, just make sure you follow the 2017 MCAT preparation playlist. I'm trying to keep up to date with different types of questions that could be offered. Again, it's a guessing game, guys. As usual, if you have any questions, drop it in the comments below and I'll try and get to you guys. Apart from that, good luck for your exam. Just keep practicing these papers and don't just watch the videos, actually do the questions, write the questions with your hand, okay? Just watching the videos is not enough. But yeah, that's basically it, guys. Thank you for watching.